Hey bitches, welcome back. Welcome back to Why Oracle Decks Suck class. And you know, I hope most of y'all got the cynicism of the title, because people that follow me know that I love working with the Oracle. Matter of fact, I sometimes prefer it over tarot, so just to get that out of the way, I don't think Oracle decks suck, but I find the process of how they are being put together, I find it fascinating. Especially within the mass market realm, especially when we compare it to a lot of indie efforts that are, you know, frankly, not always recognized. And, you know, and I just like talking about that. I like spending some time talking about that. So for the second part, I want to kind of divide it up into a couple of sections. Examples of earnest commissioned decks and why they work. And then some examples of some art decks that work and why they work. And I have to say there's a couple of ones where this is because I can already see the stack, and this is definitely an earnest commission that works. And then I want to kind of get into the writing of some of the decks that I showed and used yesterday. And I'm kind of feeling like I have one deck from yesterday that I feel like kind of belongs in the commission / was rummaging through some artist's back catalog and turned it into a deck. But that still is a really good deck, and I feel like deserves a bit more credit than I gave it. But let's just see if we have enough time for all this. And, you know, if there's enough interest, you know, if we still have more topics to cover, maybe there'll be a part three. Anyways, examples of earnest commissions and why they work. Now, yesterday I was talking about Jimmy Manton, and I did, funny story, I did, while reading the guidebook for the White Light Oracle, because I've been doing some research today. As you can see, I've been going through some guidebooks of those decks where I have my doubts about the sincerity of the creation. And it's funny because in the White Light Oracle guidebook, Alana distinctly talks about her process, which is fascinating. And what she says about her work with Jimmy, for example, on the Isis Oracle and Kali Oracle, she says, I might send the artist an outline of the oracle from which they create the art. This was the process for the Isis Oracle and Kali Oracle, which she mentions here, but it's funny because this was released before the Kali Oracle was released, so I never noticed that before, and I thought I had a pretty good recollection of this guidebook. So that's what we call a commission. And I honestly doubt that she herself personally sent Jimmy Manton an email saying, hey Jimmy, this is the outline of my deck. I highly doubt it. Would be really cool if true, but I doubt it. I feel like it's her sending an outline to her publisher, then her publisher contacting an artist. However, an example of an earnest commission, and this kind of is a commission, although he is billed on the box, but I still feel that it's a commission because of the lack of passion with which he talks about this deck. The Gods and Titans. It's one of my favorite Oracle decks, by Stacy DeMarco. Now, this is an example of a commission job At least that's what I think. Let's just be honest here. We're still grasping at straws. Maybe we can see something in the colophon, if there is one. It doesn't look like there is. Wow, there's not even... Because this is the Beyond Words version. Blah, blah, blah. He does own the copyright to the illustrations. So, yeah, maybe it is a bit more in collaboration, but still I highly doubt it. But why does this work? Why do decks like this usually work? Where it's a goddess deck or a god deck. Why do you not have to necessarily have a good report with the artist that's working on the deck for you? It is because we are not necessarily depicting concepts in these decks. We are depicting deities. There's lots of like reference material. So if you don't even have to, for example, we have the card Thoth here, and the keyword is wisdom. That wisdom is not necessarily derived from the art, but we don't really have to see it because in a deck like this, we classically want to see the god that the card is about. And it doesn't really matter how he looks. I'm really attracted to this type of art. I know a lot of people are not. We've been hearing this a lot where it's like, yeah, it's, you know, everyone's too buff or, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's too, I don't know, it's too comic booky, it's too stylized. I like it, but you don't have to like it. But still, in the little mini universe that is this deck, it works because we do get that depiction of the deity, the name of the deity, and a keyword or sometimes key phrase. That's why I feel like with decks like this, it kind of works. Actually, could be really cool. You could write a deck like this and not know at all what's going to be on the cards, and it could still be a really cool deck. But, you know, based on my interactions with the creator, I'd say that there was no back and forth between the creator and the artist. And even if there was, they definitely weren't braiding each other's hair by candlelight, talking about the cool write-ups and the cool illustrations. Definitely not. It feels like a business exchange, which, once again, is fine. And I don't want to cause any ruckus in the community because I do have a very sharp tongue. I am a very sharp wordsmith. So let's make this clear. All the decks that I'm showing, even the decks that I showed yesterday, are all decks that I like. I've been I've been cleansing my collection over the last year, and all the shit that I didn't like is long gone. So everything that's here is stuff that, as a tool, works fine for me, for what it's worth, you know? So, but I do feel like this is an example of commission style decks that work. Another one, which is one of my favorite all-time decks, is this deck by Susie Cherub, the Star Temple Oracle. We do see the artist mentioned on the side of the box underneath, but they're not credited on the front. So let's see what's up with the copyright here. The copyright belongs to the artist as well. This came out in 2020. And this is a really well-written deck. Susie writes very, how do you say that? She writes New Age stuff, but it's very knowledge-based as well. So everything she does always has some sort of mythology or research behind it, which I like. She really takes her time to do the work, which, you know, and, you know, I'm not an expert on everything she writes about in her book, so she may get things wrong, but I'm under the impression that she does get it right most of the time. So, this is another, like, deck in the similar style to the other one I just showed you, where we are very often depicting an entity or being or goddess or god. In this deck, we're depicting the Pleiadian star sisters, the 7 sisters. So, you know, with having a write-up of this deck, you could create really good art. You could create amazing art. And that's exactly what happened. I really, really like the depictions in this deck. It's, for some reason, from the moment I saw it, I was like, this is one I have to have. Yeah. It works. It works. It really does work. I think it looks really cool. It looks very, I don't know, a little bit cosplay-esque, and the art has this ethereal quality about it. It's giving me a bit like Daniel Noel vibes, a little bit almost, but just a little bit edgier and less polished, and I like this a lot. I like this a lot, and this is another example of where good writing and good art come together without necessarily, and I'm not sure, I know Susie pretty well. We're sort of like, obviously we're not friends because I've never met her in real life, but we are definitely acquaintances in the sense that we regularly DM each other. And if I were to ask her about this creation process, I would probably get an honest answer from her, and also she would probably, but still, I think that she wrote this deck. She wrote, like, I think she wrote the whole guidebook, commission, sent it to publishers, and then the publisher found this artist, or maybe they did it together. I don't know. I wasn't there when this was birthed. However, I think this is an example of an earnest collaboration, at least in that sense. The pile of decks next to me is getting higher and higher. Another one where I feel like it really works is this one, the Keepers of the Light Oracle cards. Not one of my favorite decks. I got, but, you know, it survived the purge. I edged it in this gorgeous golden yellow to match the backs. Why is this another deck that could have been created fine without, you know, a very intense collaboration process? Let me tell you, another deck where we are depicting Ascended Masters and deities and angels. So we don't necessarily need to convey a lot of meaning in the image. I also find it very funny when people say they read decks like these intuitively. I'm like, how? Because this image is showing me Mercury, or Hermes, whatever you want to call him. It's not conveying any meaning. The meaning is right here in the bottom box, which is fine. But how is that reading intuitively? Maybe you connect the cards that are next to each other, while, you know, intuitively from your underbelly, like, the reading comes up. I don't know, but, you know, the card itself, I call these sort of portrait decks, and I like them. I like those a lot. I remember when I was a kid, my bank, this is really random, but every year at the end of September, beginning of October, we have Children's Book Week in the Netherlands. And if you buy a children's book, you get a free gift book, and it's usually a really cool, good quality piece of children's literature, especially written for that week. So it's not something that's been reprinted. It's like very exclusive, and you get it for free. And I remember very well that we had, the theme was Greek myths, because every year they pick a new theme. And so all the books that were being promoted, and that book week gift was all about Greek mythology. And my bank, every year around Children's Book Week, would also send a little gift pack. And one year, this is really cool, and I wish I still had them, but I don't. Maybe one day I'll find them again. But we got a little pack of Oracle cards with Greek deities on there. And I feel like that's kind of where my love for portrait decks happened. It's stunning art. But do I feel, once again, that Kyle Gray and, what's her name, artwork by Lily Moses, do I feel like they were braiding their hair in Kyle's London flat while she was drawing on her iPad, I guess, and he was giving little hints, little tips of feedback? No. I honestly feel like this was created, this was written, submitted, publisher looked for an artist, maybe asked the author a couple of questions like, hey, how about this? Or how about that? Do you like that artist? Do you like that artist? And then that artist got the job, and bam, we have a deck. I honestly feel like that. I feel like we romanticize these processes a lot. And, you know, once again, I might be completely mistaken here. But yeah, I really feel like that's how it goes. So here's another one where I feel like maybe a little more collaboration was going on. Because in this deck, we don't really get... It still looks a little like a portrait-style deck. I don't know how much free reign the artist had here. This is by Jez Hawk. I love her art a lot. But I do feel that maybe next to the guidebook and the write-ups... Let's just quickly check the guidebook for a card entry. Oh, I'm immediately opening it on the page of this card. That's funny. No, there's not an art description of the card in the book, which I like because I hate when that happens. But I feel like maybe next to whatever's in the guidebook, there would have been a couple of pointers that probably the author wrote down, like, I would like to see this, or I would like to see that, or learning experience. Maybe we're kind of want to see a hermit from the tarot-esque illustration, where he maybe wrote that down. But it could have been even less personal, where maybe the author had a meeting with someone from Hay House and said, and had that whole talk. Hay House employee or intern is writing shit down and is then going to the artist to relay the meanings. I don't even know if Jez Hawk and Kyle Gray ever met. But then again, like, we're staying honest. We're being honest here. I love this art so much. Like, wow. We're being very honest. We're saying, I'm saying this, but in the meantime, it could very well be the case. Maybe they did meet, and maybe they were braiding each other's hair, and maybe they did have lots of fun, and maybe it was like that level of co-creation. And I'm not judging that either. I'm not saying that the only way to create a deck with someone else is by braiding each other's freaking hair. No, I'm not saying that. But the level of involvement when it comes to combining the art with the tool, with the written portion of the deck, I sometimes, you know, wonder how they came together, how they came to be. Another one, because I have one more example, which is another Susie Cherub deck, funnily enough. Susie Cherub with artwork by Christine Karen. And I'm literally going to ask her how the collaboration happened, because I'm pretty sure that she's going to be very transparent about it. Because when I first saw this, I loved it. However, it took me a while for me to get into it, because I also really loved the art in Susie's first deck, and this is quite the departure. This is not that Photoshoppy. This is very much drawn. And I honestly thought, hey, we're doing this card immediately. So we're seeing this keyword, vision, visualize, imagine, foresee. Then we see this gorgeous fairy being on this card with some flowers in her hair, and you're kind of like, what does that mean? And this is honestly where I respect Susie a lot, because I have to be honest, and she may see this, and she may think, hey, what you doing? I thought you were my boy. I'm still your boy, Susie. Because in the guidebook, she takes the time, and there's probably just one symbol she's going to talk about with this card. Yeah, I'm kind of right, but with some cards, there's more symbols in there. She describes why this image relates to these keywords and the processes that she describes down there. Listen up. The Lilac Fairy is the seer of the fairy realm with the intuitive ability of clairvoyance or psychic sight. She has shown up to acknowledge that you are also a clairvoyant with the ability to foresee the future. Observe the spiritual signs around you and interpret these messages for direction and uplifting guidance. Lilac, the flower, and the color, I think it's also a flower, right? Oh no, that's the lily. Lilac is the color of the third eye chakra, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to read the whole portion. But we're getting purple is also the color of royalty and spirituality. As a true visionary, you are a born leader. Tune into your inner sight to realize your divinity, natural leadership, and ascension pathway. Affirmation, I am a visionary. And it doesn't matter which card you pick. For each card, there will be, let's look at this one, longevity. So it's very often about, not necessarily about the fairy, but more so about what they're wearing, what's around them, and I do like that. Yeah. Patience, dear heart. Everything happens with divine timing. As an evergreen, the pine is a symbol of immortality and eternity. So this is the pine tree fairy. And then we get a whole story. So there is actually a lot of really, really good information in here where I'm like, she didn't have to do that. Because we've seen examples of decks where, you know, we get the pretty picture and it doesn't make a lot of sense. But she does. And I feel like that is putting in the work, doing the research, and I think that is an earnest collaboration. All right, examples of art decks that work. I only found one in my collection, and it's this one, the Fairies Oracle by Brian Froud. Oh man, because this contains art that was curated from Brian Froud's artworks that was not specifically made for this deck. It comes with this big ass hardcover guidebook. The cards are thin like printer paper, but it's kind of a classic. It's kind of a classic. So we get this whole, I love these cards. I think they're so cool. We get this whole, like, I'm going to put these down because this is fun. So you get this whole gorgeous little set of Brian Froud art cards. Still want to get that other deck as well. It's so difficult to find, and if I find it, it's so expensive and so overpriced. That Heart of Fairy Oracle, they should just reprint it. I mean, come on. But this is just art from mostly his books, Fairies, which I have right here. This book, Fairies. And also the Good Fairies, Bad Fairies book. So this was all pre-existing art, and then derived from the knowledge that was in the mythologies that was in those books, combined with, you know, I don't know, great storytelling, great world building. This deck was created, and this is one of the decks where I'm like, yeah, it is kind of weird. And it is very guidebook heavy because I cannot read this without having the guidebook. But it works. It really works. So we get this amazing, bit of world building. Even the way the book is printed, I wish they would have maybe done a soft cover and put a little bit more money into the actual cards. But I've had them for years and they still hold up great. But we get this great world building, this amazing story that this author tells, which is stunning. And, you know, so this is not, you know, a 2-page intro and boom, let's get into the card meetings, which can be fine. Sometimes I'm in the mood for that. Like I said before, disclaimer, I like every deck that I'm showing here. They're all decks that I love and like. But this is just, really cool. And then we get the card spreads that are really, really well explained. Like, if you were a divination beginner, it would be amazing to start with a deck like this. How to read the fairy cards. And then we get sort of the different groups. So you have the singers. Those are almost all of these sort of weird fractal-looking artworks that I've shown before that I like a lot. So she created this whole, like, fairy monarchy almost. I'm not going to go through all of them, but they're really amazing. And it's a stunning deck. I really wish, because this one they're keeping in print, and the other one is out of print, and it's a really, really good deck. It's once again, this is an art deck that I own that to me really works, and this is also where my deck from yesterday that I kind of maybe mistreated a little bit comes back in. This one, the Secrets of the Mystic Grove, very much an art deck where we, you know, acquire the rights to back catalogs of artists or for a certain amount of images and then have a deck written to it. I'm not the biggest fan of the lack of world building in this, if you're going to do a deck like this, but I am a fan of the world that I get sucked into when I look at the art and the keywords that are on the cards, because those are really good and evocative, and I like them a lot. So, yeah, I would probably really recommend this to people that are kind of looking for a fairy tale storybook, earthy, you know, fantasy style deck that's very liminal, neither here nor there. This is giving me very much fairy energy, and I like that a lot. Do I like every card? No, but I feel like this is definitely one of those art decks that, you know, got turned into a very usable tool. So let's quickly check the write-up for this card, this celebration card, number 31. Once again, opening it almost on the right page. Like, that's really cool. A Lady Amherst pheasant purchased in the lady's hair. This symbol of good luck. Okay, so we are also kind of acknowledging the symbolism that is in the art and working with that. So, like I said, I think I did this deck a little bit dirty yesterday because I was being a bit spicy in that video. Tis a good deck, and I do like it. So, definitely a good example of an art deck, because this is not a collaboration. There are no collaborations to be had. Neither is the Brian Froud Oracle. The Heart of Fairy was written by his wife, Wendy, so I do feel like they did have some back and forth, but this was written by Jessica Macbeth, and I don't really think there was huge involvement there. But once again, we're just guessing. Would love to be able to travel back in time and sneak into their rooms and listen to the process, because once again, while it may sound like I'm bitching, I'm actually super fascinated by it, and would love to one day be a part of it, honestly. But I don't really think any publisher is going to want to work with me ever, because I am, like, very good at seeing processes, and sometimes I feel like I say too much. Now, where the hell did I put my notebook? Because what else did I want to do? Oh, yeah, I wanted to look at the writing of some of the books that some of the decks that I brought yesterday, and also some newer ones. So I have been at work this evening. I've not been reading them cover to cover, but I've been taking some highlights and making some notes, and I would like to put the Alana Fairchild decks to the side, and let's take a look at these guidebooks for Angela Hartfield's decks, because I have to kind of take back my words, but honestly, I feel like, especially with, yeah, let's put these two to the side as well. Let's grab the Whispers of Love deck, and let's just look at it, because it's funny. It's funny. Also, very often when it's a commissioned deck, not necessarily, or an art deck, not necessarily a collaboration, you will see that there is no specific back design. It's just a random image, which is also, you know, I love a good back, but, you know, and this is not a good back, but, you know, so let's just grab a random card from the deck, because it's funny. Yeah. Express love through gifts. Well, this is a very concrete one, because we do get an image of a merman giving a pearl to a mermaid. Horrible image of the face, though, by the way. But this one, have faith. Trust your faith in this situation. And then we see this girl who's being carried by butterflies, and obviously butterflies know how to fly, so I don't really know how that has anything to do with having faith. I feel like when you are trying to convey an emotion or a feeling or a concept, rather than a deity or an animal or an angel, you know, or an ascended master, I feel like it could be a bit clearer if you would have gotten someone who specifically painted an image for this concept. So first, sticky note. This is the revised edition, so this has a couple more cards. And the introduction to the deck is a very standardized intro. So about the deck, about the guidebook, how to use the cards, how to clear the cards, how to prepare to read your cards, how to ask a question, how to shuffle, how to choose, and what your daily message can be. Then we get a 3-card spread, obviously past, present, future. And then we have a relationship spread. So she devised a spread for the deck, and it's a pretty good one. Obviously, because this is the love, or what the hell is the name of the deck? The Whispers of Love. It's going to be a relationship spread. So we can commend her on that. And then after 13 pages, out of which, you know, we've started at page 7, so it's only 6 pages, we go into a double-page spread of illustration, and then we head straight into the card messages, and they are 1 page long. And while I don't really use her guidebooks a lot, because I don't really like them, and you don't really need them to do readings, honestly. But what I did find out, and I gotta be honest, is that we are at the bottom of each like card thingy, we are getting a paragraph about the art. So I have to eat my words. Yeah, so the imagery, those are my 2 post-it notes that I can now throw out. The imagery is described. Sometimes a bit half-assed. But, you know, you gotta give it to her. The imagery is described. So for her other 2 decks that I own, I tried contacting the illustrator, but she's off Instagram, so I can't really, like, do that anymore. Those are Whispers of the Ocean, Whispers of Lord Ganesha. I've heard a lot of Hindu people, like, quite upset about this, and maybe I know a couple of people that are of the Hindu faith, so maybe I should ask them why, because I quite like the deck. So, like I said earlier with that Whispers of Love, there was 0 world building. It was very, very standard. With the Whispers of the Ocean, we do get more world building. Life on Earth originated in the ocean. We get a little bit of a story. That last 1 page, and then we go into the steps for using Whispers of the Ocean Oracle deck. Preparing your cards, preparing yourself, asking a question, shuffling the cards, choosing a card, and then some card layouts. We get one original spread, and then we get the answer spread, which is just a double. It's a 6-card spread, but it's a doubled past, present, future spread. So, and then once again, straight into the card messages. And since this deck is more of an animal deck, we do get mostly some animal explanations or animal symbology or allegory. So, you know, it is a bit, I just feel like there's a bit more meat to it. I tried contacting Ekaterina Golovanova, who did the illustrations, but she's not on Instagram anymore. There is an illustrator from Moscow on Instagram whose name is Ekaterina Golovanova, but I saw her work and it's different. This is a pretty cool deck. It's nice. I like it. I really like her illustrations mostly. I'm a big fan of her illustration style. For the Whispers of Lord Ganesha, some world building. We're not getting like all of it, but we get a little bit of explanations here, you know, 1.5 page, and then we get another one, how to use the guidebook, how to use the deck, how to clear your cards, prepare yourself, how to ask a question, how to shuffle the cards, how to choose a card. We get a past, present, future spread. We get a daily message spread, so that's interesting. But this is, oh, this is a relating spread. So this is the same as the one from the other one. And then we get a Ganesha's horseshoe spread, which is interesting. So we're getting, come on guys, we're getting, once again, one original spread. This person is being paid to do this, right? But you know, I don't know, there's probably a lot of things wrong with this deck, but I kind of like it. And since, once again, this is surrounding, like, one deity, I don't know how this went. It looks like there was at least a bit of back and forth, or at least more of a... Because these aren't random pictures depicting Ganesha with a random message there. It looks like there was some more intention behind this. And this was also by Ekaterina Golovanova. And, yeah, I really like her art. I really like it. It's not very traditional Hindu art. So maybe that's why people don't like it. I don't know. But I do like it. For example, this one... Spiritual Quest, we see Lord Ganesh walking with, you know, that umbrella kind of on a trip. So the art does very much depict, I love the chakra cards in this deck too, does depict kind of what's going on. So I do like it, and I should probably use it more. I like it a lot. I bought this deck in Miami. This is the box cover, which is also used as the back, because once again, we're not doing back designs when it's a commission, because, you know, you've already paid a lot for that art, so you're gonna milk it dry till you can't anymore. Once again, a deck that I like. So then I wanted to get into the White Light Oracle Guidebook, which is like 220 pages long. Yeah, 221 pages of content. So let's see. Oh yeah, this was the bit where she talks about sending an outline to the... So, sometimes I'm inspired with an idea for a deck before the artist has been found or the artwork has been created. So this is Alana Fairchild, right? Synchronicity kicks in and somehow the artist and I find each other. I don't buy that. It's just your publisher looking for an artist that will kind of fit the vibe of your deck that you've already written, I think, or that you already have an outline for. In such instances, I might send the artist an outline of the oracle for which they are going to create the art. This was the process for Isis Oracle, Kali Oracle, and Wings of Wisdom, which I don't have and don't like. At other times, the artist will reach out to me to write text for their work. This is how the Rumi Oracle came into being. In that case, I meditated and asked Rumi if he would mind if I wrote an oracle based on his work. The next day, I received an email from Rasuli, a wonderful artist and translator of Sufi poetry, asking if I'd be interested in writing a Rumi deck to complement his art. I took that as a cosmic yes. At other times, I sense the spirit of a project after being inspired by the artwork. I then contact the artist and asked if they would be interested in creating a deck with me. That was how Sacred Rebels Oracle and the Mother Mary Oracle came together. So this is interesting information. And I own like, I think I own about like 60, 70 mass market Oracle decks. This process has never ever been described, has barely been described ever. So as much as because this is a deck I don't really like. I don't like working with it. I love looking at it. But you know, I do like that portion of this book where we're being very earnest here, which, well, you know, sort of. So now about the creation of this deck. She got, one day when she was appearing at a spiritual festival, a woman asked her if she had thought of the art of A. Andrew Gonzalez for a deck. As soon as she said his name, I recalled seeing his work almost 20 years prior, when I was struggling to break free from the control of society and my own upbringing. In his art, I recognized the sensuality of a spiritual, blah-de-blah-de-blah-blah. She uses too many words. Honestly, I don't care. So she was thinking about that art, and she immediately felt the title White Light Oracle and knew it was the artistic pairing I wanted for this project. It clicked into place in my heart. I also felt very grateful for that woman's suggestion. Her name is not mentioned. She is the one responsible for this whole deck happening. But hey, it was a catalyst for the very deck you are now holding. Well, okay, well, my publisher organized the deal a short time later, but it was nearly 5 years before I was able to write the project. So, Blue Angel went out of their way to acquire the art of this artist, whose art is expensive as hell, and she took 5 years to write the deck. I'm at a loss for words, honestly. I think she may have written a deck too many. And I'm going to show you an example of a deck where that shows. Because I have another deck with art by Ekaterina Golovanova. You might say that I'm a fan, which is the Pegasus Oracle. And this is a 30-card deck. And once again, I wish I could contact Ekaterina, or I wish she had a website, but she doesn't. But to me, this screams, I drew 30 Pegasi. Blue Angel saw it on my Instagram. They had worked with me before, and they were like, 30 images? That's enough. Come on, Alana, write a deck to it. That's how that feels. Once again, wasn't there. Can't confirm. But that's what my intuition says the project was like. Meanwhile, in all these guidebooks, we get a sense of massive spiritual processes going on. Where it's, you know, that... But it's way more businessy than you guys like to think. Like, the art is stunning. Once again, when people tell me they read this deck intuitively, I laugh because there's nothing to be seen. It's a Pegasus with a certain color, and the titles are really strange. Orange Pegasus of Healing. Pegasus of the Emerald Heart, so we're probably getting heart chakra energy here. This really isn't necessarily a Pegasus deck. This is more of a color ray chakra deck, kind of. Pegasus of Polaris. White Pegasus of the Sacred Waterfall. So I kind of went into this deck expecting some myth, some lore. No. It's very much... I can imagine Alana seeing this art and thinking, and coming up with a story, which can be lovely. You know? Can be lovely. So yeah, gorgeous art, stunning. I actually quite like this deck. I like pulling cards from it, but only one card at a time. And I just went through the guidebook, which is not thick, it's very thin. We get very little world building. We get a little story about how she had a dream about a Pegasus, and boom, there was the deck. So, yeah. Oh, it's actually more than one page. And then we immediately go into the card messages. So this, especially when you compare this to literally every other Alana Fairchild deck I have, this feels massively phoned in. And then we get the messages. They're pretty long, I feel, for what the card entails. Thank God there's a little, like, summary at the end. And it kind of goes like this. So it's this whole, like, invocation or prayer, almost. Blah, 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 blah. So what I get from this is healing, material well-being, healing, abundance, safety. Healing, self-care, self-care, connection, creative flow, and emotional warmth. Self-trust, confidence, courage. Freedom through forgiveness, self-love, openness to life. So we're getting a lot of repeating. Devotion, freedom from the past, and power of choice in this moment. Inner knowing, higher understanding, trusting the spiritual light. Spiritual connection, blessing and protection that cleanses, heals, and infuses. Courage, let go, generosity, grace. So we're getting a lot of repeating concepts here. So that's why you won't want to pull more than one card, because compassion, bless, divine love, faith, empowerment. I mean, like, I don't want to highlight all of them and categorize all of them. I know Moran did something with like that with the Starseed Oracle, Work Your Light, and the Rose Oracle. I'm not going to do that. But unconditional love, enlightened wisdom, divine grace, confusion, spiritual benefit, freedom, grace, grace, spiritual fulfillment, transforming suffering into freedom. Like, do I need to go through this whole guidebook, or have we already heard that, you know, the messages are very similar? But, stunning art. I love looking at this art, and I love pulling a card from it every now and then. And there's, so, once again, I love all these decks, but, you know, publishers, do better. Do we really have to stick all the time to the tried and true names and never give new people a chance? I would love to collaborate with an artist. I love drawing, but I know that I'm not the greatest artist of all time. I would love to collaborate with Ekaterina Golovanova or Jimmy Manton or Jasmine Beckett-Griffith or whoever, you know, to create a stunning deck that will change lives. And instead of that, we're getting this. And on that note, I would like to call this video quits. Thank you for watching, and bye-bye. This was part 2, and I don't think there's going to be a part 3. Love y'all. Bye, bitches.